Welcome back to the channel on which we talk about Hearthstone cards. Yesterday we talked about Hearthstone cards, and today we talk about more Hearthstone cards. We talked about the best cards from each expansion yesterday, and I thought, let's just do that again, but for the worst cards this time. Let's jump straight into the action of talking about pictures on a screen. Oh yeah, and my name is Solem, and you wanna like, subscribe? We start with the Hall of Fame, and the Hall of Fame has a bunch of bad cards, like really bad cards. There's Embargo for good cards, and other cards on Witchwood that became Hall of Fame because the odd and even mechanic, kinda went away from standard. And the worst card in here is Gloomstack. The card is just bad. Even if the effect is active, it's just bad. I basically have an effect, but it's really just taunt kind of card. And you do have to play Odd Druid, and you get a 4/8 for 5 mana, which is nothing. Let's go to the next bad card. In most expansions, there's at least one card that has no card tag, that is just stats. Even a 4 mana 7/7 has something like Overload. Now, there are really bad cards with bad cost for bad stats. We skip them. For example, the Worgen guy. We all know for sure, by just looking at the card, it's complete garbage. You just wonder, why does the card even exist? There's no purpose in this card existing. There's no purpose at all, but it does. We skip those type of cards. I would just put in like Eldritch Horror and stuff like that, or Giant Yawmongo Fish, whatever it's called. But let's be honest here, that's boring. So we use at least bad cards that have an effect. Here is the worst card in Naxxramas, it's Naxxramas. On my North American account, where I own every single card, which is really cool, that's my way of flexing, because I have Hearthstone cards. There was only one legendary I ever disenchanted, and that was Naxxramas. Maybe in Battlegrounds, the card makes sense because of the poisonous effect, but in reality, like, in you play the game actually, Naxxramas doesn't do anything. Which brings us to another useless card, which has bad stats and a bad effect. GvG. Helmet. Wow. Helmet Nessingberry. Destroy a beast. How many people play beasts? Some people. How often is that effect used for? Not often. It was never good. I might craft them in golden. Recently I crafted a golden Millhouse Mana Storm and both Ram Shield because they're so bad. And I might, perhaps, go with Helmet next. Because he's really bad. Like the next card, it's a Rent Blackhand. Wow, this card sucks. Same effect as Helmet, kinda. But even worse, because you only can target a legendary minion. And you also have to hold a dragon. And then you also have to pay 7 mana, and all you get is an 8/4. You only get an 8/4 in stats, which is so bad. Look at the card. Why does the card exist? This should be an 8/8. Actually, this should be an 8/8, and even then nobody will play it. The effect is just so situational that it makes no sense. It's like you have a weapon that only gets +1 attack when you use your hero power, and it's only for rogue, like Poisoned like in TGT. Who made that? This card only makes sense in an adventure in which you get Caldara Drake and Raza to, I don't know, OTK an opponent or something, where you have infinite time. This one should have like 8 durability, or 20, or 58, or infinite, just being infinite, just an infinite sign. Like you have to pay 4 mana for 1 attack. At least give it poisonous. The card is, well, the artwork, there's poison. The name, Poisoned. Where's the poison effect? If this had poison at least, maybe it would be useful. It doesn't. Like the next one. Oh wow, it's Summoning Stone. Even for a meme card, this is bad. The only way you can make this work is if you play a card called Meat Wagon from Knights of the Frozen Throne to summon this out of your deck on your own turn, and then cast a spell, and then get something good. Which, as you can tell so far, doesn't happen. But at least it's a stone, and you know what people say. A stone in the pocket is better than 2 on the moon. Anomalus. That's a bad card. If you play it, nothing happens. If it dies, something happens. This card makes sense if it gets randomly summoned from like Sneeds or Shredder or anything else that summons 8 drops. Maybe as an evolve effect to clear the board. But if you play this card for the effect of, I would like to clear the board, and it doesn't do anything when you play it, that's just bad. Imagine your opponent plays a deck, and you play this card, and he's like, well, I kill you instead. At least give the card taunt or something. Like, just change this card. This is so bad. Next card from Gadgetzan, which has a really cool voice line. It's Moroes. I crafted Moroes in golden. I can tell you, he's not good. If you pay 3 mana for him, and he summons his 1/1 steward at the end of your turn, you at least have a 3 mana 2/2. And then in 5 turns later, you have a 3 mana 7/7, which then means you got some value out of your mana investment, but in reality, people actually have AoE that hit stealth minions. So Moroes usually just dies. If you play Odd Paladin, you would need to give him Divine Shield, and then he maybe doesn't die. But he usually does. Let's move on to Gadgetzan, in which people introduce tri-class cards, which means you can play cards in 3 different classes, but not in the other 6 or 7. Now, why do I say that? Maybe you needed an introduction to Blubber Baron, the richest minion in Hearthstone. Or he isn't, I'm not sure. He just looks pretty rich. Like he's a baron and he has like gold and he looks at money. He's like all those mumble rappers who's like, so much ice on my wrist, counting money every day, which is, by the way, really boring. Have you ever counted money? That's so boring to do. Anyways, blah blah blah. Like, you have to hold it in your hand until you play like X amount of Battlecry minions, and then the effect of the minion is gain stats. It's Edwin, but a lot slower. In all my years of playing Hearthstone, not a single person ever played this minion. The card basically does not exist. But I think he's pretty cool because, okay, listen to this. What I like about Hearthstone, or card games in general, is rulings. And now here's a question for you, okay? Maybe you get the answer. If you have a Blubber Baron as well as a Doppelgangster, you have Blubber Baron in hand and you play Doppelgangster, how many stats is Blubber Baron going to get? Does it get +1/+1 or +3/3? What do you think? What is your answer? Your answer was maybe correct if you voted for +3/3. The reason is that Blubber Baron reads summon, not play. And because Doppelgangster summons copies of Doppelgangster, which all have a battle cry on the card effect itself, I thought that's pretty interesting. And with that interesting fact out of the way, let's, you know, move on to the next card. Do you guys like hero powers? I feel like you like hero powers. You have a hero power if you play Hearthstone. Well, want to make a bad hero power even worse? If you play Hunter, which can't target minions unless you play the target minion stuff. You can also play Dinomancy to target your minions. Isn't that great? Wow, Dinomancy. Yeah, no, it isn't. There's a meme combo in which you play Wizard as well as Dinomancy and they give your opponent garbage. And even that combo is so bad that you never see it. Also, randomly, did you notice that I not just put Ninja's book right there, but also the book from Gravity Falls? Maybe you did notice that. Maybe you didn't. Dinomancy is still bad. And I would even say it's worse than Webweave. Now this one is a 5-mana spell in Druid, which summons 2 1/2 poisonous spiders. If you play the Death Knight Merfurion, you have this as one of the options. You just summon the Spooders for free. You don't have to spend 5 mana on that. At 3 mana, maybe this makes sense. At 5, there's no way anyone ever plays that. There's like 0% chance. And you can have bad spells and you can have bad weapons. And one of those bad weapons is Bladed Gauntlet. It's interesting design because it has attack based on your armor, but it can't go face, unless you play Major Norganfogger, which I think is the only way. Or your opponent plays something like a Wrathguard and you hit that instead. But you have to have armor to give this weapon attack. But then if you attack and trade, because it can only hit minions, you lose your armor. So it loses attack, which just makes not too much sense. And it only has 2 durability. You know what else exists, which we actually used on a combo? Duskfallen Neviana, which I also have in golden because the card is so good. The moment you play this card, you basically say, well, I would like to lose. The effect doesn't happen for you, but for your opponent. Unless you use Maeve and make Eviana dormant, and then you get the effect first. But that's a 9-mana combo, and it's bad. This card makes no sense, but at least we have it. And sometimes, you know, you just summon it randomly, because random. And then you win. Or you lose. Haha, random. Max? Yeah, well, you can kill Max using AMP Operative, which is a bad card. Which is, I feel like, my sentence I use for every card so far. For 5 mana, 3/3, you basically have a updated version of Helmet Nessingberry. Even if you destroy a Mac, usually the Mac summons something like Skaterbots or whatever. They summon like 1/1s. So it doesn't even destroy everything. It kills a minion. And you summon a 3/3. Which means you can just play any other spell to kill minions and have a better deal. Yeah, don't play this. Let's go to Rustican's Rumble, which is horrible, like Gurubashi Offering. It's a 1-mana card that gives you 8 armor, unless it dies, which it will. Play a 1-mana minion that heals you for 2. And if not, then you have an effect that is worth 2 mana. So let's go to basic, meaning Starving Buzzard. This card used to be broken. I think it was like 2 or 3 mana with the same effect. And then it got nerfed by Blizzard. Now we have a 5-mana card that nobody plays because it's bad. I once made a video, which is actually the most popular video on my channel, with like 140,000 plus views, about the basic set being really bad, in which I just talk about how bad the basic set is. And Starving Buzzard was, I think, one of the cards I mentioned in there. I just don't understand how one of those cards actually exists in the game. It makes sense if you get the card randomly, but why do I even have access to the card to put it into my deck, which no one ever will? Talking about terrible cards for beasts? Bestial Wrath in Classic. You can only buff a beast, and only by +2, and it's immune for a turn. It saves your minion, but you can also just use a card to kill the minion you would like to trade into, and then you go face with your minion. You know? Like, that's better. How many of you encountered this card? Let's go to Reborn minions now. One of them is called Generous Mummy. Now the card was actually great if you used Treachery, and then you played Highkeeper Ra, and you played this beautiful golden legendary that I made called Glinda. Glinda Crowskin. As well as Highkeeper Ra minion, and that, and you summoned them. Yeah, I loved that deck so much. I liked it so much. And then Snip Snap happened, Echo got nerfed, this card doesn't do anything anymore. Generous Mummy now is just useless when you get it from Pharaoh's Cat if you play a rogue. And I don't like that. I don't like this mummy, even though it has good stats for the cost. Let's go to the worst scheme ever made, which is still bad. Dr. Boom's scheme. Unless you hold this card for like 15 turns, it's bad. Why does the card exist? The artwork is weird. The effect is weird. The name makes no sense. Why is there explosion going on, but there is no explosion? You get armor. How do you explode with armor? Where's the flavor? Any official statement on that? Makes no sense. Has been a year. Change it. I actually gotta say, for flavor, this card, pretty sick. Pick a random dragon and it's a secret death rattle that you hatch into. The only other secret card is called Fate Spinner in Druid, which you either blow up the field or you buff all minions. Which is a really interesting card, one of the best design cards I think. The only thing is, nobody kills the egg. It can't attack, so you just summon that and then it's there. And you know who else got ignored in high school? Urk. Urk never got a single date. Look at him. He has a stupid lantern on his... Actually, in golden, the card looks pretty cool. But I don't like Urk. That being said, the entire Galakon's Awakening adventure is really good. Really powerful. And I feel like for this being a form in a legendary, and it only really makes sense in a rogue or warlock, Urk doesn't do much. Which brings us to Ashes of Outland, our last adventure. Expansion. Yes, this card. It's a 6-mana 6/3. That's all I have to say. And then lastly, for the Initiate set for Demon Hunter, which does count as a set, I guess, we have Blur. And we can make this all really blurry, and then we're all blurred, but the blurring part doesn't... Yeah, it's weird. Like, you already have Eldraki Warblades to have lifesteal. You can buff your attack by plus 80 within 1 turn for like 5 mana. So you don't even need to not take damage, but your hero can't damage this turn. Which is also weird, because it could just read... Your hero is immune this turn, like most cards that have the immune effect, but it reads you can't take damage. Anybody knows that there's a difference between being immune and not taking damage? But it sounds like it's the same description for the same effect. And with that, we have all the worst cards from each expansion, based on my opinion. Now, as mentioned at the beginning, cards like Worgen Guy, obviously they're worse than anything I mentioned, but that is boring to pick, so pick cards that have at least an effect. Let me know your worst cards and the cards you dislike the most based on the effect. Maybe the cards you feel like, why do they exist? Maybe Wicked Skeleton, Wicked Skeleton is pretty bad, but there's an OTK using it. Write down a comment, like and subscribe, because liking the video takes like half a second and 4% of you guys do that. My name is Solem and salute.